Welcome to a Revolution to Lead podcast. We bring you daily wisdom and inspiration from the revolution, filled with the greatest minds and talents of all time. When Jesus walked out of his tomb 2,000 plus years ago, he began a revolution against an old way of life. Jesus is not just offering another self-help strategy, but a brand new reality that is overthrowing the world as we know it. This podcast is all about how we tap into and live out this new reality in order to live a revolutionary life. So we're going to be continuing our conversation from yesterday. I encourage you to go listen to the last episode if you haven't. But I'm going to read the verse again that we read yesterday just to remind us. So John chapter 13, starting in verse 3. Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority over everything, and that he had come from God, and that he would return to God. So he got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, and poured water into a basin. Then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with a towel that he had around his waist. And then skip to verse 12. After washing their feet, he put on his robe again and sat down and asked, "Do you understand what I was doing? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, because that is what I am. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you. I tell you the truth, slaves are not greater than their master, nor is the messenger more important than the one who sends the message. Now that you know these things, God will bless you for doing them." Now, why I want to continue this conversation is because yesterday we talked about the heart of what we need. And just give you a small recap, ever since the Enlightenment, we have seen the main philosophies that controlled the Western world are life is all about pleasure, power, and sex. And these thoughts have now creeped into, of course, the American dream and Christianity, which makes everything we go to God for all about us. That we expect God to give us power, we expect God to give us pleasure, and we expect God to give us sex. But this isn't the way we should be looking at it. So I'm actually getting my master's at Oral Roberts University, and my first Bible class was last night, and I loved what my professor said. He said that while going to God, or specifically in reading the Bible, but we can take this into prayer and just any time that we're going to church, any activity that has to do with our relationship with God, that we need to look at who we are in the light of who God is. We need to look at who we are in the light of who God is. In everything we do in our relationship with God, it can never start from us. That if we start with us, that is where it'll end. Of us trying to be our own God, our own religion, and ultimately we will go to hell, and we will be like the people in Matthew that said, "Lord, Lord, but we prophesied in your name and we did all these things in your name," and he'll be like, "I never knew you." And that's because rather than Christianity, we were living some off-brand version of it, that we were our own God, and will never truly enter into that relationship. Where true Christianity comes to life is when we put our focus on God, and when we put our focus on God, it immediately inspires us to serve others. That the Holy Spirit will empower us to live our lives for others, not ourselves. You see, Christians who are all about them aren't really followers of Jesus. They're having some fun religion, and they'll get a wake-up call one day. I don't know what it is, but it's not Christianity when it's all about you. When you are not inspired to go serve others with your encounter with Jesus, then you need to rethink who you actually encountered. Because Jesus, when you encounter him, inspires you to love others. It inspires you to care. And Every personality test I have says I am not the most caring person in the world. Naturally. But when I go to God, I am empowered to care. I'm empowered to love. Even though at times I miss it completely and I'm not caring, I still want to. I still want to help those who can't help themselves. I still want to help those who are broken and outcast and that the world is ignoring. I want to help fix our systematic injustice we have in the world and in our country. Why? Not because that's who I am, but that's because I put my focus on God and that is who He has made me to be. That when we encounter Jesus, we begin to live a life that is not about us, but it's about Him. And when our lives are about Him, we live our lives serving others. If you're enjoying this podcast, please rate, subscribe, and share with a friend. Because the revolutionary life is not about self-enlightenment, but it's about changing the world around you. And don't forget, I have an NFT collection out right now, a Revolution to Lead Series 1. My first NFT in the collection is out and more are on the way. If you want a sneak peek into some premiere content, some exclusive content, go on OpenSeas, buy the NFT, and you'll get exclusive content from me and get to join a community of people who desire to live this revolutionary life, and they want to help you live this life as well. And then my NFT that's about to release, this is the first time I'm announcing this. My NFT about to release will be access to a Bible class once a week. It'll be an intro into the Bible, into this revolutionary life. And we're going to walk through the Bible showing how from Old to New Testament, God designed us and plans for us to live a revolutionary life. So go out today and be revolutionary.